just you get to choose. Right? Like here's the scenario. The environment gives us something which can be perceived as negative, can be perceived as not working, can be perceived as problematic. The world's ending. But we get to choose to see it like that, or we get to choose to see it as an opportunity.
So clearly that it's my responsibility now to do that for other people. If I have information and, other people's success is my success and vice versa.
Because you know what? Like, the challenges or the roadblocks are the journey themselves.
There's no big things. It's all little things compounding on top of each other.
Coach Nick Davies. What's up?
How we doing?
I'm doing great. I wanna get thinking today. How can we get our brains going? How can we really get thinking today? What do you think? What do you think about thinking?
Think about thinking. I like thinking about thinking. What are you thinking?
What am I thinking about thinking? I'm thinking that I want to go somewhere new. I want to get out of patterns that I'm in, and I want to experiment and go to a space that maybe gets me out of my comfort zone a little bit. How do we do that today?
Okay. What's the most comfortable place that you're at right now? Perhaps maybe think of it like category of your life, area of your life, or subcategory. Like, so in your business, what's the most comfortable place, or other parts of your life, what's the most comfortable place, subcategories or overall category. And if we know what the most comfortable place is, we can go perhaps to the extreme of that.
All right, so the most comfortable in that, I've done it so often, or I'm used to it, or I don't even know that it's comfortable. Like, how do we define what comfort means?
Where do you go in your life when there are other things that are happening? I have a client who's a big golf guy, which nothing unusual about that. And I know when there's things happening family wise, and he doesn't want to do any work, and all he wants to do is go and play golf. And it's a reminder that like it takes a lot of certainty from doing that. Like the vehicle for delivering that certainty is like it's a fairly positive to neutral vehicle, right? I'd say positive vehicle, but it's also on the extreme can be something that he's avoiding going to do that thing. Now, like obviously sometimes those activities can be vehicles that are not positive or neutral or negative. So but that's an example for him. But what comes to mind for you?
All right, so where do I go, or what do I do when things are happening? Almost like an escape or something? Is that how you think of it, or like a coping
Yeah.
mechanism?
And even if it's not actual activities, like it could be like where your mind goes.
Mm.
If it's like
Yeah.
this,
Okay.
I don't want to deal with this right now. Where do I go?
Yeah. I think I've heard this term recently. I want to hear what your thoughts are on it. Toxic positivity. I used to be. I'm becoming more conscious of this, but just the eternal optimist, which makes me think of a partner coach of ours. But just pretending that everything's good all the time. I'm really working on how do I actually feel about things. Does that make me angry? Does that make me upset? Does that make me so going a little bit deeper on that? But it's very habitual for me to say, "Oh, this is fine. We'll roll with the punches. Everything happens for a reason, and we'll figure out a solution." And it's just a really comfortable place for me. So whether that's good or bad or right or wrong, that's where my mind ended up today when you asked me that question.
So you're really good at, well practiced at lifting a lot of weights in the no matter what happens, that's fine. We'll figure it out. We'll move forward.
Yeah.
Okay. And is there a circumstance where that doesn't serve you?
I wonder sometimes if I'm just pretending and I'm preventing myself from addressing something that could be better, or admitting that it's not great and I could work on something.
So are you spending too much time in that space where it's such an automatic thing to reframe something to, okay, it's just the way it is, let's move forward, versus really fighting for your position?
Yeah, all right. I have a more specific example too. I noticed this recently with my meditation practice. So maybe this will help round out my answer and or go in a different direction here. But I recently realized that I would use meditation to to like numb out or to feel good. I don't know if we talked about this before, but when I first started meditation, it was really just more of a place of observation of just witnessing how I feel. And now it seems more of a recalibration to feeling good. And almost, I wonder if I'm like cheating with it or not. I'm taking a shortcut with it by, by like, I'm just using it to relax instead of using it to observe and pay attention to what I'm actually feeling or going through.
You must be. I mean, you're so much further along in your meditation journey than me. That's it's wild, huh? It's vehicles, right? Because just like the golf example, it's places that you can go where you can be focused
Yes.
on that. You haven't got to deal with other things.
Right.
Um, and and sometimes you need to deal with what's in front of you, right? Like you need to deal with where those things are. I think fundamentally that the concept of saying things are okay for me, that's not the same thing as just being real with what's actually there, and then taking a perspective on it, a position on it, which allows you to move forward. Even if that sometimes that action is actually circling back. So follow me on this. This is putting you back into a place of resourcefulness, so you can actually deal with what's there. So sometimes what's the opposite of like numbing out or having a going somewhere different is perhaps opposite of that is exploding and sending all of the emotions at that thing. I would posit that that probably isn't useful either. And and so as always, it's what's most useful in this situation. And if it's the meditation is an example taken to a place where you numb out, and then after that meditation, it's like you just forget about it. Therefore, it's not really gone. You're not dealing with it. It's just dealing with the symptoms. Then probably not as useful as anything else. That might give you a different approach. But then again, it might be like, well, I just need that right now because I've committed to something that's in front of me, and I need to go and get my head ready for that.
Right.
Because they're not the same thing. Right? It's different. It's like, what do I need right now? Am I being real with myself? Okay, well, am I in a position to actually open this up and deal with this right now? Or if do I have a prior commitment that I need to put myself in a different state that I can elevate and take something else that I need right now to deliver something else?
Mm.
And so it's that back to awareness, right? Of what do I need right now?
Yeah, so let's fast forward to an example. I'll just share like at night, accomplish all the day's tasks, and it's more of like wind down time, and I can sit and be with what I need to be with and address what I need to address. And I'd like to visit someplace on that spectrum between numbing out and exploding. Because when you mentioned that about exploding, it's like, oh, I wonder what that would look like. I wonder how that would feel. And you're like, well, it's probably not that. Well, it's like, I don't know. Maybe I wonder what that would look like. And if it's not the best way or the most ideal way to handle it, where on the spectrum is it? And it might be closer to that side than the side that I've been on. But just how I started today and how I introduced the question, it might be good just experimenting with it and just seeing what happens with it. What is the good? What is the usage? Because I also want to balance that with part of successful meditation practice is not really having an end goal or using it to achieve something. Although that's sometimes hard to do. Um, I don't know. Those are just some thoughts about it. Like I just wonder what a different style of meditation practice might look like and how that might be beneficial.
Hmm. So can we follow the example of the end of the day and just do wind down time? So are you saying that that isn't as effective as it was because you're too good at it in some respects,
I'm
or
just
do
saying
you?
that would be a space that I could tap into that, it's not as useful to numb out because I have the time. Like if I wanted to address something, that would be a good time to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and bottom line is, who knows, right? Like it's experimenting, and like what works for you now, what might not work down the line, and like this version of it might be useful now and not useful down the line. Like, and it's there's a spectrum in itself, So okay, I've got a spectrum of emotions to deal with here, right? What do I need? And I think it all comes back down with, well, where are we going, and what's the place right now that we're looking to, that I'm hiding from, and how might I just get a little bit of clarity on that, and just play with the choice I want to make around along the spectrum between numbing out and exploding.
Yeah.
Not everything can be a priority, right? I mean,
Right.
in fact, only the one thing can be a priority, and you can't be committed to everything.
Mm.
You got and think about, the further you get in experience, the further you get in creating value for people, the more that will come to you. Like suction exists, and therefore the more opportunities you get, and the more you've got to say, am I committed, yes or no, to these things? And once they make it in through the commitment firewall, then they have to make it onto the scheduling uh, action list. And there's a holding area before they even make it on there as well, right? Like the one, two,
Yeah.
three of it. It's like, am I committed? If no, throw it away, never think about it again. If I am, then it goes into a holding pattern to get scheduled. And then once it gets scheduled, then you can see like when it's going to come up.
It's like a nightclub. Like your name's got to be on the list, and then if it's on the list, you got to be let in. And then if you're let in, like you're still not in the VIP. You're like in the main floor, and then maybe just maybe you can get a table.
Right. And you got to wait an hour for a waitress. Right.
Yeah. So all right, we've hit on a very important part of the conversation. I'd like to know if you have any practices, like is it during your workout time or like um, so many things happen throughout the day, right? And there's many things that we wish we could grab onto, but it's on to the next thing. I'm just wondering if you have a dedicated processing time to go back to a situation or think about, even if it's like strategy for your business. How do you do that? How do you plan for that? Where in your day does it go? Because we have commitments, right, with clients and prospects and coaching and podcasting on a daily basis. So when does strategy time happen, or even reflection or processing time happen for you?
Well, this was the genesis of my 3 levels of energy concept that I just threw together last year, was based from that situation. And it's evolutionary, and it's constantly moving around based on what's most important as well. And if you are always in the execution gear, like the putting your foot down on the gas, then that's all you can do is execute. Now that might be what you want to do, but it's hard to check in if that is what you want to do without doing the reflection. And you can't do the reflection unless you're enough rested, because in your reflection time you'll just be sleeping, stopping, like zoning out, numbing out. And maybe that's it. You just need that level of numbing out before you can get to the space when you're willing to deal with it,
Mm,
because there's too many other things going on. And how much do you need on any given day or week? Depends with
yeah.
how long you've been in execution before, and what is the thing that you're executing on? Is it something that you've done for a long time? Is it new, so it's exciting? How much agility have you got on that? And then what are the urgency around the other commitments and things that you've made urgent to move towards?
So can you give me an example of those 3 levels of energy? Is it a particular day where hey, I'm primarily staying in reflection today, or is it like I've got 2 hours blocked out for my reflection time? Like how do you actually do it? What's your process look like?
I definitely can't do things. I do day planning for just intraday, just to check in. But my actual planning depth is, a day is too small of a rotation now. It just goes too quick.
Hmm.
And it's becoming that a challenge in a week. I've started thinking about it from a month. What is this month about?
Mm.
What's the story? What's the biggest storyline from this month? And then make sure that that's the thing that gets hit, if that is really the truth for you. And so it's not as granular as daily, and even sometimes weekly. And
Hmm.
if I think about June, the storyline for June is 2 trips. One of those includes our coach's retreat. 3 trips, because I've got a client trip for a day after that, the last weekend in June as well. So already I know June is about the right scheduling to execute on these trips, and I'm not pushing myself to shove a lot of other things in there that is a particularly high level version. So winning June for me is to have success in the 3 trips.
And you'd file that under rest?
I'll file that under the right level of execution so I can cycle easily between the rest and the reflection.
Okay.
And
Gotcha.
so like not booking time in those weeks when I know I'm doing trips to do other things because I know I have to be flexible to move clients around. If I was trying to push something else in there to execute on, that would cause, I've got to go into another level of execution. I suppose if I think about those 3 levels, then maybe that first level's probably got some levels of itself, like that execution foot on the gas.
Mm.
There's the foot on the gas, like 70 miles an hour, I can do that for a long time. And there's the, oh shit, I've got to get somewhere quickly, 85, watch out for cops. And then there's the, like, someone's dying, get there now. Like, so there's versions of that as well. So that obviously that 70 is much more sustainable for a longer time. And if I had extra things in or wasn't thinking about what June is about, then that time might have been pushed in there. I'll say yes to too many things and then might force myself when it's too late to start going 85 when I should be going 70.
Mm.
Which means I need more rest time and more reflection time, which may get pushed off and might impact my July and August.
Interesting. All right, so if I tie this in a bow, so for me, that meditation time it can probably be, it's mostly used for rest or reflection. Although I have used it for execution before, like idea creation and strategizing, etc. But
Well,
it's more.
if it's a sorry to interrupt, but if the 3 levels of execution can also be a cycle, the reflection becomes the creation to back to the execution, right? So yeah,
Right. Yeah.
that's how that should be.
Yeah, I guess, and how I'm thinking of using it is more of the rest and reflection of processing things throughout my day, because I feel like I can show up better in the execution stage if I'm present and not thinking about things that feel unresolved for me. And that's what meditation does for me, is get to that place of resolution. So a couple of different takeaways for me in that, like it's okay to numb out sometimes. Maybe I have to numb out to be able to get to that place to actually reflect. So like rest and let rest be okay. And also think about like what does reflection look like? And like I said, it's like feeling into things a little bit more deeply, but only after I give myself the chance to like recoup a little bit
Yeah.
from whatever execution I've gone through.
That's it, Coach. I think that's it. It's good to get a few extra layers deeper on the nuances around this because I think that's so important. But it's a constant checking in for yourself as well to go, what do I need right now? And like the practice of being honest with yourself. The practice of being honest with yourself is important. Like dirt honesty for yourself. Am I numbing out now because I need the rest? Or am I letting myself off the hook? Or how long do I decide to do this rest before I'm going to go back to the driving seat? Because if it goes too long, then you've got a purpose issue. Like you haven't got enough things pulling you forward.
That is a conversation for next episode, because there might be some of that going on too.
All right, Coach. Boom. I'm out of here.
Mark, good stuff. Thanks, Coach. Talk next time.
Thank you for watching another episode of Truth Seekers. We appreciate your interaction. So please comment, like, subscribe to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you want more, check out some of our links. Links to our masterclass, The Achiever's Mindset, and come join our LinkedIn group. And what do you want to see more of? Remember, we're here to share the simple secrets of successful. So help us do that. What do you want to see? What do you want to see more of? Thanks, and see you again next time.